Hi, my name is Derek Henry with XLEV8 Consulting. In this video, I'm going to give an overview of some of the popular XLEV8 XL add-in macros. I personally use most of these almost every day and they save me a ton of time. Perhaps the most useful one is called Search Macros. So you can run this by going up to the XLEV8 ribbon tab after you've installed the add-in, and then you can click on Search Macros. And so the reason this is so helpful is because you can get to every macro within the add-in by using this search box. So we just start typing and you can press up and down arrows to go through the list of matching items. And you can see over here on the right, you've got details and description and other information, including keyboard shortcuts if you've assigned them. So in this case, we want to run the Assign Macro Shortcuts macro. So once the full name is in there, I just click Enter and it runs the macro. So with this one, a sheet is created called Assign Macro Shortcuts. And this is a way that you can quickly assign shortcuts to all of the macros within the add-in. You just put the shortcut over here, and there's a drop-down list. You just press Alt down to show that, and that way you don't have to miskey anything. And after you set those up, another thing to note is there's a list of the coverage that you've got to know which shortcuts are available still. You can actually print this out in a print-friendly fashion, put it next to your desk. And once you've set everything up, when you run the same macro again, it's actually going to process everything. It's much easier than setting them one at a time. And because of the list structure in Excel, there are similar macros that can be used to set keyboard shortcuts for the Word and PowerPoint add-ins. There are a lot of settings sheet macros like this one, where you run the macro the first time to create the settings sheet if it's not already in the file, and then run it again to process everything that you've set up. Next, we're going to look at Filter Freeze. So with this one, you want to select the range that you want to apply auto filter and freeze panes to the top, and then you're just going to press Filter Freeze, and in this case I've got a keyboard shortcut assigned. It's going to ask if you want to auto fit the selected columns, and so we're going to say yes, and all of the columns here got auto fit. We've added auto filter, and we've also got freeze panes at the top. With the filter now in place, we're going to look at the filter picker macro, and so I'm going to select a couple of values that I want to filter to, and then I'm going to run the filter picker. And so if I press Option T right here, it's going to filter to just those values that I selected, which is helpful. It's a little bit quicker than having to go through here manually and clicking them. If I run the filter picker again and use Option U, it's going to unfilter everything right here in the sheet. There are some other options in here. You can filter to blanks or zeros or the fill color and some other options that are helpful using pickers or using filters. Next, we're going to look at the Quick Sort macro. So once I select my data range again, including the headers at the top, and I run the Quick Sort macro, it shows me a prompt, and I can quickly enter the column and underscore in the direction that I want to sort in. And so in this case, I'm going to enter C_A, comma D_A, comma A_A, and it's going to sort in order with these different columns. One other thing to note about that macro is when you run it, you can actually set 5 custom values here, so you don't actually enter the whole thing again. Next, we're going to look at a couple of similar macros for toggling colors. So if I highlight whatever I've got highlighted, I can toggle through these different fill colors by just pressing the same shortcut key, and it's going to use the top left cell as a guide for which one to apply next. You can do the similar macro with the toggle sheet tab color, and it does the same thing. And you can set these custom colors independently running the related picker macro or the assign macro defaults. So to run the highlight color picker right here, and I can set these colors as defaults. Next, we're going to look at a couple of macros that help with quick formatting. And so I run the cell action picker, and it's got a few other pickers that I can get to quickly, and then some other options. I'm going to leave the default of N because I want to change the number format, and so it shows me the number formatting picker. And with this one, we've got some common number formats. Shows 5 custom formats that I can apply. Usually I want to use A, so I've got that as my default. And then I can instantly apply the accounting number format. For all the other picker macros, note that you can set the default option, like in this case I had A for accounting. You can set that for every picker that's in the add-in so that you can quickly run it with just pressing the enter button. Next, we're going to look at the sheet picker. So with this one, you've got a bunch of sheet action types that you can do. In this case, I'm going to press F to go back to the first sheet in the file. And then I can also run, with Option T, the table of contents macro. And so what this does is it creates a table of contents sheet, and it creates a link to every single sheet in the file. And notice that if I've got any hidden, they're actually added but as hidden rows. I can then use the follow hyperlink macro to get to any sheet in the file. And then lastly, there's a couple of other macros in here that are helpful. Notice that Option U unhides all the sheets in the file, and this is something you can't natively do within Excel. Next, we're going to look at the Copy Special Picker macro. And so with this one, it shows you a few different copy types that you can apply. My favorite that I use all the time, probably every day, multiple times, is the sum of selected cells, Option S. So when you run this, it takes whatever you've selected and it sums them, assuming they're all numbers, and it copies the total to the clipboard. So now if I go over here, I can paste that total. I can paste it into an email or in Word or some other place in a raw format. There are also a few options. You can use M for the same thing but applying a currency format, so you don't have to do that separately. And then Option F will copy the exact formula in the cell as if you copy it straight from the formula bar. Option R will copy the range address, and then one of the newest ones is Option W, which will actually copy the entire workbook that's been saved already to your clipboard, so you can copy that to another folder or into an email or anywhere else you want. Next, we're going to look at the Paste Special Picker, and just like the Copy Special Picker, this one has a few Paste Special options. And so when I run this, I see all these different types. You can set 5 custom values to insert quickly. You can use Option V, which I use the most frequently, that's why it's the default, and it'll paste just the values. And note that with a lot of these options, you can actually add a T to the end and it'll transpose for you without having to go into the prompt and check the box. Another one of my favorites is Option U, which is Paste Uniques. So right here you see the unique values. If I do that, it's going to run Paste Special Values, and then it's going to apply remove duplicates to it. Next, we're going to look at the Note Merge macro. And so this is a helpful macro. It's a pretty quick one. All you do is you run it when you have your selected range where you want to kind of wrap around a note. And it's going to put everything in a nice and neat note fashion. Next, we're going to look at the Misc Picker macro. And so when I run this, there's a few options here. You can do F for freeze panes. You can use X for toggle the formula calculations on and off. Option W opens a new window, or if there's already another one open, it'll toggle them. And then there's some other ones in here that are helpful. Next, we're going to look at the Folder Picker macro. I don't have a keyboard shortcut set to this, so we're going to type it using the Search Macros box. And what this does is it lets you quickly open in Windows File Explorer a few common folders, and you can actually set up to 10 defaults here. Lastly, we're going to look at the Email File Link macro. And this is one I love to use. What it does is when you run it, it shows you a prompt, and you can copy the path to the active file as either a link that'll copy to the clipboard, or if you press Option W or some of the other ones, it's actually going to create an email with a link to the file, a hyperlink that you can share with your colleagues. There are so many macros in the add-in it would take hours to go through them all, but these are some of the popular ones. Like I said, I use almost every single day. We encourage you to look through all of them and try them out. There's something for everyone, and they can potentially save you hundreds of hours a year, especially with the 40+ picker macros and the 15+ toggle macros. That's it for this video covering some of the popular macros in the XLEV8 add-in. You can find more videos like this one and many other resources on our website at www.xlevate.co. Thanks for watching and have an excellent day.